it work out. That on money work out. That it still work out. One on money black out. Yo, yeah, before. Yo, yeah. That it work out. That on money work out. That it still work out. One on money black out. We not here for it. We got baby again. It's time for us to pull hands together. Move our country power. Let's stop the hate. Pushing fake messages. And I move for us. Let us stop the our money. Yeah. All I Liberia. Oh, see. You pretty up on your black. You feel style on social media. You are weak now. No need more pain. All the money blackout. You don't stop it. All the hate messages you preaching, you're not doing it to the blackout. You're doing it to the people, the poor people. The people you claim for love. The people you want to lose. That it work out. That on the money work out. That it still work out. One on the money black out. Yo, yeah, before. Yo, yeah. That it work out. That on the money work out. That it still work out. One on the money black out. We not here for it. We got baby again. Work out, making us hating one another. Encouraging others for our country need. We should go and demonstrate. I met you will be there. I met demonstrating. Yeah. Let me ask you where out. When we find our country, who will help us cancel? They say no, work out, say no. When you bring out a hand, who will help us settle? They say no, work out, say no. Taking shock out of game power. We not yet for that kind of flower. Work out, get black out, a chance. We are one. We are one. Get past it, then we are the chance. We are one. We are one. Can't you see? He's very wrong.
All right, folks. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Talk TV Media Network. Today it is going to be very, very fascinating here at Talk TV Media Network. My name is Sam Gadu. I have a special host on this show today. Those of you watching, we are welcoming you to share the link on your various platforms. Be a part of the show. We have an advocate who is with us today, Mr. Gonkwe, Emmanuel Gonkwe, Economic Freedom Fighters of Liberia Commander-in-Chief, as he calls himself. So, with no further delay, we will be getting right into the show as we go along sharing the show. Today is the 29th of October, 2022. I'm here in the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, USA, bringing you a live broadcast. Mr. Gonkwe, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, my dear brother. Thank you to the viewers. Thank you for those who decided to be a part of the show and sharing the show. I know it's going to be a fascinating edition. Even though this is I would say, a new program or new platform, and this is my first appearance on your show, but I'm glad that we are having this first interactions on your platform. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And I know it's going to be interesting as we get into the show to discuss the national issues that concerns Mama Liberia. Issues that concerns you, issues that concerns me, issues that concerns the Liberian people. But before we even get into the program, tell our viewers, who is Emmanuel Gonkwe?
Well, Emmanuel Gonkwe is the Commander-in-Chief of the Economic Freedom Fighters of Liberia, an outstanding civil rights advocate, and I've been standing up as a young Liberian fighting for the liberation of our country for about 10 to 15 years now. So far so good. This is what I can say. Imanda Gongolese, I'm married, of course, and I have 3 children. Now, I'm in my little corner doing what I can do for my country.
In your little corner, what you do for your country, Liberia. Wow, you're a married man with kids, responsible man as well. And
Oh, yes, of course.
so before I even ask further, the uniform that I see on you is the uniform for the movement that you are heading as commander in chief.
Yeah, this is our regalia. So I'm on no revolutionary mandate to consistently have interview wearing our official regalia.
Okay, tell us about this organization. Many viewers out there probably know, some who do not know. Tell us about this organization.
Well, the Economic Freedom Fighters of Liberia is the Pan-Africanist organizations. Um, it is foundations in South Africa, headed by Commander-in-Chief CRC Julius Malema. He's the founding president of the institution, so we refer to him as the Continental Commander-in-Chief. Of course, the EFF is a liberation struggle movement. We were funded not on the basis of anger to get the old generation out of power across the continent, but we were basically funded, to ensure that young people who are going to school and graduating with various discipline and getting to understand the thing that we are in a technological age and that they can effectively contribute to the growth of our society, can begin to take interest in the reform of their respective countries. And that is the reason why today you will find the economic freedom fighters of Tanzania, the economic freedom fighters of Nigeria, of Ghana, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia, or Malawi, Zambia, and of course, the economic freedom fighters of Zimbabwe gone to elections, but they were never, successful to have one seat. The economic freedom fighters in South Africa gone to 2 successful elections as well as all by-elections. They've been able to win local government seat as well as currently they have 43, members of parliament. The economic freedom fighters of Namibia went to elections, and fortunately for us on the continent, they won 2 seats. So we have 2, of our colleagues in the parliament in Namibia. So it is a grassroots continental movement advocating for the economic liberation of the continent.
This, one may say this organization is far beyond. It's a bigger one platform, because one would think that it was just an organization that is solely for Liberia, but taking it out of Liberia and looking at how widely spread are you guys in West Africa, not only West Africa but Africa as a whole. One may say it is a political movement, right?
Come again?
That your organization is a political organization.
Yeah, of course, it's a political organization. And many times people try to confuse the fact that we in Liberia started the organizations and people thought that we were a political pressure group. We have a talking society, not a reading society. And so many people believe in the talking, what they hear is what they believe. So what sometimes you put on the paper, a lot of people don't have interest in it. So a lot of people been questioning us and saying, well, what, the EFF is pursuing a political path instead of remaining a civil society organization or a pressure group. And sometimes we have to remind them that the EFF started in South Africa, but in South Africa, they were never a pressure group. But what people don't understand is that we have a movement orientations in our political engagement. We behave as though we are civil society organization or we are pressure grouping because of the radical engagement. We engage government and state actors and private sector actors in the way we do so that we demand for radical reform. So because of that style, of how we engage leaders of both the corporate world and the political world, people feel that we should be a pressure group other than a political organization. But we are foundations in political governance because we believe that if you talk 24 hours, the problem may not be solved just by talking. If you protest 24 hours, the problem may not be solved just by the protest. But if you who have the know-how and the understanding and the particular drive or ideological belief that you want to pursue a particular agenda for your country, you need to find yourself around the political decision-making table so that you contribute to the decisions of the day. Because if you don't do that, you will always conduct protests, you will always speak and have mass press conferences, but the situation will not change. Example, clearly, we participated in the June 7 protests. We have done the economic, and war crime code protest 3 different times. We have done a couple of different protests, but the decision, that we have been demanding for, the decision had to be made in the national legislature. Now, if we are not seated in the legislature to take to form part of a decision or to lobby with our colleagues in the legislature to take that particular decision, we will continue to have protests, and the decision will not be made in the interest of the people. So that's why you see in the legislature, in the parliament in Namibia, where we have 2 of our colleagues, many times they find a way, to form part of the decision making. And if the majority disagree with them, they come in the press and say, we are doing this in the interest of the country, but the majority of the people in the parliament are disagreeing with our position, and here is our position. Few days ago, the EFF in South Africa, they have a very uniform decision to make about the budget that was presented by the executive. They took a decision that they were not voting, and the EFF went to the parliament. Majority of them, or all of the members of the EFF in parliament, they carry placards in the parliament to show that this position against the budget. So we have particular ideas and particular orientation, and we have a radical mindset. The way we pursue, the issue, the way we pursue change, the way we want to reform the different, African country. People feel that we should remain as a pressure group, but no. A pressure group would not make more impact as compared to being around the decision-making table. Who knew, for example, Senator Dillon would have been trying his best, even though he has heard and made a lot of mistakes, but who knew that he would have been trying his best to be who he is, when he was out of the legislature, he was not as effective as he is. When Yeke Koluba was outside of the legislature, he was not as a person he is today. So it's always good that those of us who understand the political governance of a state and who come across with new ideas and new orientation to find ourselves in the legislature or in the governance space so that we make the decision our people are yearning for.
So you, from what I'm hearing from you, you are far beyond just a pressure group, and you are an organization that wants to be and partake on the decision-making table of the nation of Liberia. And that brings me to your assessment. Where do you guys stand when it comes to the We Are Led administration? Are you guys happy? What's your assessment of the We Are Led administration?
Well, I think the George Weah administration has failed the Liberian people and lost complete legitimacy. And I think if we were in a country where majority would be considered conscious enough, George Weah would not have been president by now. George Weah would rather be a former president sitting down somewhere, either being prosecuted for some of the crimes he committed against the state. But as a stand, we find ourselves in a society where majority are still not politically conscious to look at some of the issues, that bullet around the economic viability of the state. So the George Weah administration, in essence, has failed the Liberian people and lost complete legitimacy.
When you say they have lost complete legitimacy, let's look at areas of the governing system of the Wheeler administration in terms of the financial governing of the state. And also, when you look at the infrastructure of the country, Liberia, when it comes to roads, electricity, safe drinking water, how do you handle those? What would you say that we would have done different, or what would you have done, your organization? Because more or less, you're not a pressure group, but you are also doing the job of a pressure group. You're mounting a lot of pressure on the government and holding them accountable for their role, for them to meet the needs and the objectives of the citizens. So you are also holding the government accountable. But when you look at the infrastructure, address those segments, those areas of the government that I just mentioned.
Well, I think we have a lot of excesses in the governance of the state. You talk about the financial governance of the state. I would say to you, even if the government is taking the IMF theory, to say that their inflation is declining, the economy is projected to grow and all of that. Sometimes those of us that come from the Pan-African, perspective, that are not so much, subjected to Western influences and governance and all of that, we don't believe in this Western theory, because the Western theory does not support, the day-to-day living standard of the people. How can you say the economy is projected to grow? But when you look at the physical reality on the ground, the people cannot survive. The people cannot go to hospital. Majority of our parents cannot even afford, daily meal. They cannot go to hospital to access medication. How can you make a projection that the economy will grow, when these kinds of reality, exists in a glaring term? So the financial governance of the state is one thing, to have all these theories. It's one thing to have, the practical, reality confronting, the state. Right now in Liberia, I would say, for example, if you look at our currency, we have more resources, we have more currency circulating outside of the banking system than in the banking system. The government does not have, the central bank does not have control, over the money market. They do not have control. They cannot control. So the financial governance of the state is, there are a lot of FCC. You saw the finance minister saying to you at the Liberian Senate, that when they were doing the MOPO exercise, they have to put US dollars in Keke and Texas, to go do MOPO. So it tells you that even the government themselves realize the fact that there are more money in the market, but circulating outside of the banking system. So therefore, they themselves item outside of the banking system in the MOPO exercise. And that's what 25 million US dollars were missing. And today, they cannot. Today they cannot account for the $25 million that we're missing, because there are more money. There are more money outside of the banking system than in the banking system. So the financial governance of the state, there are excesses, there are problems, But again, many of our people in governance rely on the IMF theory, because you subjected yourself to IMF, and subjected yourself to all international protocol because you want favor from them, And these international organizations, most times they act on, what benefit them. It's not what benefit the people. They act on what benefit them, not what benefit the people. So if you rely on the theory that comes from the IMF, the World Bank, and you think it is a propaganda material that you can use to convey a message that your government is doing well, you will be contradicting yourself. You will be putting yourself in the bad economic position with the state. You'll be putting yourself in the bad political position, because the people whom you are governing don't see what the IMF is saying. They don't see what the World Bank is saying.
So do you think that the current finance minister, Samuel Toy, has been doing a good job or not?
No, the government in totality has not done anything. They have not done anything to revive the economy. Like I said, they are basically surviving. This is a survival theory. They are on what I call the survival theory. And the survival theory is Give me 1 second. Let me put the case out.
I know.
1 second.
Folks, welcome to the show. This is Sam Gadu at Talk TV Media Network. Our host today is Emmanuel Gonko, CRC, as he calls himself, for the Economic Freedom Fighters of Liberia. He is the current leader. What is the movement about? They have been a pressure group. They are an organization that is far beyond Liberia, Africa as a whole. They are in other countries. And we have him on the show here today to make sure he tells us the aims and objectives. Because when you see online, they are doing a lot of pressure on the government. They are holding the government of George Weah highly accountable. They have led protests in the past. And so we will go back to him to make sure that he continued to lay out his agenda for Liberia, what this organization is all about. Because many people, as he mentioned earlier, do not read. Maybe they read, people just don't have time to sit around and read. But watching this platform.
So, like I said,
yeah. Just 1 second.
So, like I said,
yeah. Go ahead. Finish your statement.
So, like I said, the government is in totality not performing. So there are many exercises. We just spoke about the financial governance of the state. If you look at the infrastructure, tell me the significant gains that have been made in reforming the sector. Tell me, you as a journalist, you follow the conversation in Liberia. Tell me the gains. We are pretty well to where we were when the government took power. By building 2-kilometer roads in community does not mean that you're doing exceptionally well. The government is not doing anything in every sector. The government has failed. In the electrical sector, the government has failed. We don't have energy in the country. And once you don't have sufficient energy, you undermine, in totality, the need for the investor to come to your country to invest. Because how can an investor come to invest when there's no energy? Every investment will need energy. If you're telling a man to come and build a mini factory, that man needs cheaper energy. Now we don't have cheaper energy. We are still paying around 32 cents per kilowatts in Liberia. We are one of the countries in the region or perhaps in the world with the high cost of energy. How can you be paying 32 cents per kilowatts? It's not possible. Most of the hotels in Liberia, they rather buy heavy diesel fuel to use in a generator than to be connected to LEC. So potentially LEC is losing a lot of revenue because a lot of people are staying away from getting on the power because you're paying 32 cents per kilowatt. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of power theft going on, because people are paying 32 cents per kilowatt. If you go Nima, where the CLSG land is, people are paying 50 cents per kilowatt. So when people pay for cheaper electricity, everybody will be excited to get on the grill and everybody will be excited to contribute. And LEC can be potentially a huge revenue generating arm for the government. But the government lacks the ability to manage this sector very efficiently. And this is why the country does not make any progress.
Good. So let's go back. What I want to our audience to understand is, of recent, your organization called for a press conference asking the National Election Commission to form a political party. How did that go? And why?
Well, I think we had a very close relationship now with the Elections Commission. They are reviewing now our documentations. They got back to us with a very impressive report. The board now is in our court to change our office location because where we are situated is outside of Monrovia. And the electoral law says once you are outside of Monrovia, you cannot be certificated as a political party. The commission told us clearly that where our office is situated is outside of Monrovia. So now we are, by next week or week after next, we should be able to relocate to a new office facility, and then the certification program will be going on. So sooner or later, we're going to be a full-fledged political party in Liberia.
Being a full-fledged political party in Liberia and looking at the coming elections for 2023, elections are around the corner. As you may already see, time is moving very fast. And what what capability? What have you put in place? Looking at the timeline, one may say, leave it as it is until maybe 2029, right? But 2023 is around the corner. It's just months away for the election. Why now? Why the hurry?
Well, because they are leaders of the economic freedom fighters of Liberia who want to participate in the 2023 elections at the legislature level. So they will be going for legislative elections, including myself. I'm hoping to run for the Senate in Margibi County. I'll be contesting for the Senate in Margibi County. So we want to run on our party ticket. We don't want to run on other political party ticket. We don't want to run as an independent candidate. We want to run on our emblems.
Let me hold your thought. You said you will be running as representative or senator for Margibi County.
I will be running as a senator in Margibi County.
Okay. Well, that's good. I just wanted to get that clarification for our viewing audience. So that's one of the reasons why forming a political party, and in forming this political party, one may say, why don't you just align, looking at the opposition, as in the UP, the ANC, and the LP, all of this? Why can't you just get in, bring your group, and get in one of those that you believe in the causes and be a part and form a formidable force, as in just, freedom fighters of Liberia political party?
As you listened to the interview a few weeks ago when I spoke to the press, I was calling on Liberians across the globe to come together under one umbrella, to find a way to defeat George Weah because he's a byproduct of democracy. And I also said that George Weah, was a dissident of democracy, and he was a bigger threat facing our country's international image. So therefore, we need to come together to have George Weah removed from power. We are forming what I call the Democratic Alliance, a configuration of opposition political parties, coming together to make sure that the opposition unite and get George Weah out of power. And also we are committed to that. In fact, the Economic Freedom Fighters of Liberia serve as the organizing, secretariat, play the role of the organizing secretariat, in bringing these opposition political party together. So we are doing all we can. I think right now I can say about 6 political parties, in that arrangement. Political parties are joining. All the political parties are expressing their interest, and we have agreed, to carry the single standard bearer. So we are working on modalities. Professor Alari Tupa is the organizing chairperson of the Democratic Alliance. Honorable Benda Yuri Party is also in that alliance. A lot of political parties are coming to the table, so that we form a stronger, alliance or coalitions, that we will go to the elections and have George Weah removed. I have consistently said George Weah is a bigger threat that faces our country image. If we are to rescue this nation, there's no better legacy and there's no better leadership. There's no better law for country other than coming together as opposition to have George Weah removed from power.
When you look at the 12-year, let me take a retrospective look at the 12 years of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. It was said the Congo, the way we say in Liberia, are the ruling party running. And then the country boy wanted to come to town. The country boy wanted. And you saw it overwhelmingly, how George Weah won as a country boy. Looking at him after 4 or 5 years of rule, do you think he has met the satisfaction of the country? I know I've already heard the overall performance from you, but do you think the countryman that is out there in Lofa, in Baplo, in Nimba, in Sano, do you think they are happy with the Weah-led government?
Well, let me be very unequivocal here that I do not support sectional politics. I'm not in law for the sectional politics or tribal politics or religious politics. But to answer your question, George Weah has failed, the quote-unquote country people. He has failed them. He was elected, because there was a growing desire of the quote-unquote country boys wanted to come to power, taking over from the Congo, people and all of that. But George Weah has become a disappointment. He hasn't performed. So I don't think that the people in Lofa, Valhom, the people in Yahweh Meslon, or Bo and Quida, the people in the Chen district, Plibo Solocan, I'm not sure they are excited about a George Weah presidency because of what happened. The country is in dire need of leadership. There's a need for renewed hope. George Weah cannot single that hope that the people desire. That's what I say in my intro, that he has lost complete legitimacy. George Weah is just holding on. Where we are right now with the whole George Weah administration is practically, being seen like somebody has already resigned, but the person is just waiting on for the new president to come and take over. So it is practically the situation of Boris Johnson in the UK. When he resigned, he was holding on, until new conservative election can take place for new prime minister to come on. That's the kind of scenario we find ourselves. So George Weah is practically holding on, to power, and with the election to be held, for the new president to come over, because George Weah does not, deserve the people vote anymore. He does not speak to the happiness of the people, the consciousness of the people. The people don't see themselves in George Weah anymore. That's why he and his people, they are particularly looting the central bank, funding organizations, auxiliary, and financing them. The national budget is becoming more of a campaign financing budget, funding auxiliaries and other groupings to continue to create the impression that George Weah is popular. But George Weah lacks popularity. He's not the George Weah that came to power, 5 years ago. George Weah might not even, sometimes we argue this, we say the equipment theory is there. You can underestimate that because he has ministers that are working, he has directors that are working. They want to retain that job, so they're going to, push their family member to support them. But if we look at a contextual political analysis of the existing, reality in our country, George Weah might not survive to go to the second round of our election, knowing that nobody will uprightly win majority vote to 50 plus one votes to become the president in 2017. So I'm certain that George Weah will not make it to the second round of elections.
What do you make up of the current sanction of the 3 government officials of the Weah administration, especially that of McGill and the Justice Minister?
I think the current sanctions speak to the fact that as a country we are still lacking behind promoting accountability, promoting good governance, promoting transparency. We're still behind. So we have to rely, even though it shows how reckless we are in our decision making, in our governance system. We still rely heavily on international organizations and international forces, to make some of a decision for us. So the sanction is good because we have said consistently, that George Weah and his people are looting the state. But the government has always rebuilt, some of the comments. Even you journalists, been crying on the administration of George Weah that the country is not going in the right direction, that the state is being looted, that corruption will walk in broad daylight in Liberia. But interestingly, the president reneged on making any progressive decisions towards listening to the Liberian people who trusted him with power, and voted him. So the international community or the United States coming with sanctions, even though I've always said, I'm not a guy who appreciate the fact that there must be Western influences in our governing process all of the time. We need to start making truth and practical decision as a state. We can't rely on on Western partner or Western country or foreign partner to continue to push out to the world to make decisions. This is not how you become responsible as a leader. We need to start making decisions. We need to start being proactive. We cannot be a country relying on international pressure before we make decisions in the interest of our country and in the interest of our people. I mean, for me, that is recklessness. But sanctions in totality is good for our country, and it's good that the international community show to Georgia that they are watching the state and they are watching the governance of the state, and they are aware, that there are too many corruption in the state, and the state is being looted. So the sanction is good, and I think the resignations of the three government officials are not sufficient, to indicate that the government is serious about fighting corruption. And I think what the president needs to do right now is to, since we do not have the infrastructure
Right.
to be able to invite a forensic international organization to conduct forensic investigation on the three government officials, and then we can use that forensic, investigation report, to prosecute them in court. I think that's what the government should be doing. If the president wants to show or indicate, that he's serious about fighting corruption and he's honest about the governance of the state.
Wow, wow, very fascinating. When you look at all of that, all of those variables that you just talked about, and elections are not too far. And if you look at what just happened with the bar senatorial elections in Lofa County, and the cry of the people, and the person, seems like we. Oh, okay. The person in the middle of all the political parties is the NEC, the National Election Commission, who the person that has to play that fair, level playing field is the NEC. Do you trust the NEC come 2023?
Well, the way in which things has happened, especially with the by elections in 2020, I think it raises a lot of questions, over the credibility of the Elections Commission, including the way they are handling the procurement processes, involving the biometric voting process, the way in which they are going about just everything, the sensors being linked to the voting process itself. And I think, there are a lot of, dark cloud hanging over the National Elections Commission. And we need to be, as opposition, we need to be pragmatic. We need to be, proactive, not to get ourselves caught up with our pens down. We need to be able to see, and demand a radical reform within the electoral process. Because if we don't do that, there's a likelihood, and I've said consistently, this biometric voting process, though it is very good for the country, the international community, our foreign funders are thinking about, a process whereby we can have a credible, elections, where the outcome of elections, can be credible. But if we do not, take care at the moment as an opposition, community, this biometric, a voting process could speak well in Joshua's interest. Could speak well in Joshua's interest, and this process could well make Joshua the next president of our country if we are not careful. So we need to watch the process. We need to be proactive. We need to review all the processes going forward.
Right.
We need to demand more. We need to demand more from the Elections Commission in terms of publications, in terms of being accessible, document being accessible to political party. We need to be very proactive in our engagement with the Elections Commission. Other than that, while it is true that the international organization took a well-placed decision to introduce a biometric voting process for the upcoming election, but this process could well speak in the interest of George Weah.
This process could as well be in the interest of George Weah when it comes to the biometric implementation for the coming election, as he said. Yesterday we witnessed, talking about this NEC, we witnessed two events I want to put before you. The Sanctioned minister, Minister McGill, was highly welcome in Lower Margibi, with tons of people turning out. Contrary to that, we witnessed another protest from the Liberty Party uh, of, uh, of Senator Yomli Kanga, crying about NEC's interference into the party business. I need you to address those two issues.
Well,
Is McGill running for political office a good image on the George Weah government, or even is it a good image for the Liberian people, or is it even a good image for McGill himself?
well, I see, McGill's intention to run in Margibi County as a broad insult to the intelligence of our country, and a broad insult to our mothers and fathers and our brothers and sisters who are in Margibi County, and to all of us who are citizens of the country. This is a broad insult, and the fact that people even show up to the McGill rally, followed, you know, validate some of the comment that I've made on the show, that Liberians are, special kinds of people. McGill should rather be booed everywhere he went. He'd rather be booed. But you see, because the government is having access to the central bank and the national budget, and more, the national budget is not being transparent. The national budget not being practical, to confront current day reality. There are difficulties in tracing resources, disbursement from the national budget, because the budget itself is not programmatic. It's a bulk document presented to people. It's not programmatic, so you cannot trace where resources being allocated and what are the outcome of the resources. So McGill might be seen outside of the government. Remember, McGill, George Weah, and the rest of the other people in government, they committed a crime together. And part of the thing, I think, the international community, if they want to send another stronger message, should be pushing for right now, is to have George Weah on sanctions. George Weah need to be placed on sanctions. The justice minister need to be placed on sanctions. So that there's a stronger message out there that says we do not appreciate the kinds of way this administration is handling the affairs of the state. That stronger message we need that, because McGill, George Weah, and all the people in government committed this crime together. They all looted the state together. McGill did not come to power, with a bank balance of $1,000. But in 5 years, McGill is pretty, a water guy in the country. So and considering the poverty in the state, considering the fact that majority of our mothers, cannot find food to eat, considering the fact that our young colleagues, cannot even survive. Every day they have to be asking friends, for $100 to go eco bowl. I will put it this way, McGill resources could influence them to turn out in the way they did, because this is the guy who goes everywhere saying to people he gave in the loan. And once people hear that, oh, this person is coming to give a loan, they feel so excited. So they move in, with courage. So those who turned out yesterday, they turn out, out of anxiety of being, of receiving some of the government money, the stolen government money. That's what it turned out. It is not because, the law of McGill, but all in all, I can say this is not a good image for the country. The global war will see Liberia and say, what kinds of people are we? Every day you cry on America. Every day you cry on World Bank. Every day you cry on African Development Bank. You cry on ECOWAS. But here we are, that people, sanctions for doing wrong thing in the country, come to your community and say, I'm here. I want you to support me. And I've said, to some of my friends in Margibi, and I've said to my supporter, I've said on the radio in Margibi, that look, Margibi County should not portray herself as a hotel, because only a hotel can accommodate criminals, can accommodate drug law, can accommodate rapists. So Margibi County should not, accommodate criminal. By doing so, you reduce yourself to being the hotel. So I'm strong about it, and I think if we are to begin to send a strong or a stronger message to the global world that Liberia is prepared for governance and that Liberia is prepared to embrace the new order, the new norms, transparency, the accountability, good governance, then the president, who is a leader of the country, should be able to set up, like I say initially, uh, 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 a committee backed by international forensic expert to conduct an investigation on the sanctioned government official and make sure that we are prosecuting it in court on the basis of the outcome. But as I see Margibi, what happened yesterday, is appalling. It's regrettable. I don't believe that we should be able to deal, with the Margibi situation as a people are embracing. The issue with Liberty Party protests yesterday, I think it's Liberty Party right to hold a mass protest, because the issues involving Liberty Party has lingered for so long, and I think there needs to be a decisive decision for the National Elections Commission as well as the Supreme Court, to bring the whole situation to an end.
The side, not to hold, just to hold your thought, the side of the Yomli Kanga side, Senator DeLon side, is saying that the camp of Musability, looking at that, and the NEC is favoring the camp of Musability, is bringing a divide into the party, right? What do you think with the interference of NEC? Don't you think that questions the independence of the Election Commission?
Well, that's what I said. There's a dark cloud hanging over the Electoral Commission, and we as opposition, we have to be very pragmatic in our engagement with the Electoral Commission. We have to be pragmatic. If not, we'll be breathing a ground for George. We have to rig the elections in 2023, and I know for sure that rigging the elections in 2023 will be problematic and chaotic for the state. Because we will not accept any form of undemocratic conduct in 2023. We want to make sure that the elections are free and fair, that the democratic credentials of the state is being considered, by our global partner as responsible. So we will not countenance or condone any form of undemocratic conduct, from the George administration. That's why I continue to emphasize in all of the press engagement that we need to be pragmatic as opposition in our engagement with the National Elections Commission. The problem between Liberty Party, Yombli fashion and Musability fashion has lingered for long, and we need to have the Elections Commission that is so progressive that can be able to resolve these kinds of disputes. And if the Elections Commission come up with a ruling between the two, and one party is not certified, that party runs to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court should be decisive, because this is about political process. We go into election. The right. Supreme Court should be decisive to come up with a ruling, and that ruling, we normally say the Supreme Court is the final arbiter of justice, even though sometimes we disagree with the opinion of the Supreme Court, but we accept it. All right, not all of the Supreme Court opinion we agree with, even though they are final arbiter of justice. For example, we never agree with the cabinet general removal. We felt that the Supreme Court was biased, the Supreme Court was bought, the Supreme Court at the time did not have the credibility. So, and I don't still believe that the Supreme Court does have any credibility. I don't still believe that. But, in order for this problem to be solved, the Elections Commission will have to do the Liberian people and the people in the Liberty Party, they understand, to come up with a ruling. If Musability is not comfortable with the ruling, Musability can run to the Supreme Court. If Yomli Kanga Lauren and her team not comfortable with the ruling, they can also run to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court can then, resolve this issue looking at the law. Whether or not, their opinion, would be legitimate in the eyes of those who participated in the conflict, but at least we have the problem solved, so that we can't have two Liberty Party in Liberia. It's so too odd that we are approaching elections, but we have two Liberty Party in Liberia, one Liberty Party endorsing, Mr. Comey presidency, one Liberty Party post to endorse Ambassador Joe Biden president. This is not good for our country. Image is not good for the democracy at all.
When you look at, I know folks listening out in media land, welcome to the show. I know we are almost just about out of time. It's just so amazing how quick time flies when it comes to this kind of issues. Man, we have not even touched anywhere enough, literally. But here we are. We are here at Talk TV Media. We are the voice for the voiceless. We go places where others do not go. With me today on the show is Emmanuel Gonco, the CRC, as he calls himself, or as his people call him, for the economic community, the economic freedom fighters of Liberia. Um, Before we close, Mr. Gonco, let's look at the current issue that Liberia just faced, the issue of rice. We have seen this pattern time after time in the history of Liberia, from William R. Talbot time up to current. Every leadership that takes over, before the end of that leadership, there is a shortage of rice in that in the country. And looking at the just shortage that we just had, if you were to give the government of George Weah any advice, looking at all the intricacies, I'm after problem solving. What best advice will you give the government when it comes to the rice issue in Liberia?
Well, the first thing is that there's a terrible mistake made, that were made by the previous administrations with the APM terminal arrangement, the agreement itself. The APN terminal agreement is problematic for our country. We continue to say so. We said that before the previous government left power, and we continue to say, under this administration. Look, there's no reason why, rest dealer will be paying $14 per metric ton to APN terminal.
Mhm.
Rice is a political commodity. The $14 that people are paying to APN terminal, if we were to place that $14, in an escrow account to fund an agricultural initiative, we as a country will be raising millions of dollars each year. Just think about the amount of rice that come to the country every time. Let's just say $14 times 25,000 metric ton. We can do the math right here. So we say 14 times 25,000 equal. So we are talking about 350,000 US dollar that come from every vessel. So 350,000 US dollar. Every vessel that land $350,000. And look at the total rice consumption in the country. We are consuming, 370,000 tons a year. Times that. So if we were to put that money in an escrow account as a government, we will be able to fund our own farm. We could use that money as a collateral to take bigger loan to solve the rights issue in the country. Simple idea, simple math. You are consuming 370,000 metric ton. Time $10, $14 by 370,000 each year. In 3-4 years, just by making that money to be a collateral to take loan, you can take pretty close to 200 to 300,000 as loan.
So you're saying these guys are not making any good economic decisions when it comes to the rice issue?
No, they're not making any economic decision. I just told you how simple it is that we can solve the rice problem. That $14 is going to APN terminal. Take that money, collateralize it, put it in a bank, go to World Bank and see if World Bank will not give you $200 million or $300 million to build a big rice farm in Liberia. Just use that simple idea.
When you look at when you look at
there are many ways we can solve the problem.
When you look at the agricultural sector of Liberia, you realize that God has immensely blessed the nation of Liberia with rich soil. Our soil, our climate is good. And then almost anything you plant in Liberia will grow. It will
Oh,
blossom.
it flourish. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think these guys? It's because of the lack of love of country or self-aggrandizement that these decisions have been made upon?
It is purely lack of love for country. It is the fact that people want to keep majority of the people poor so that they give their hand out to vote for them. That is a mentality. So, and that's the reason why organization, political organizations like the EFF, they come into the fore. Because I mean, as left wing organization, we are practically a left wing organization. We believe in the people. We take decision based on the love of the people. You cannot. I just gave you one formula. By applying the formula, you raise $1 million. You can just collateralize, that $14 per metric ton that is going to APN terminal, and you can raise millions of dollars every year. And you can use that money to borrow. If for example, you go to India, you bring experts because they are the one developing, producing more, right? You bring experts, you say, look at our soil. Do all the soil analysis. How many metric ton? Our annual consumption is 370,000 metric ton. And we want to sell out there. So let's say we want to produce, 1 million, metric ton. That's what we want to produce because we want to sell in the region. Come and do the soil analysis. You bring the expert to do the soil analysis. You look at the money that's going. They come out with the soil analysis. They tell you how many acres of land you need to cultivate to be able to cultivate to be able to bring to do a marginal farming that can give you 1 million bags. You get the money that's going to APN terminal. You go to the legislature, you remove that money from APN terminal. You need to do that. You don't need to beg APN terminal to do so. You take that $14, you use it, you collateralize it, you go to financing company, financial organization, you borrow against, the proposal that Indian friend will bring. You can be able to grow rice in Liberia, feed your citizens, sell to the region, and you can start raising money as a result of selling rice to the region. We can solve our own problem by making simple economic decision. Simple economic decision can solve Liberia problem. But what our people lack is love for country. They always want to subject the majority into poverty so that they give their hand out. That's why people like McGill will go places and people will worship them and they will come out and dance for them. That's why you will see Liberians saying, sanction, without sanction, we will support you. People are singing these songs at the endurance. People are singing these songs because they are desperate for survival. They see this buffalo, they see this wolf, giving their handouts, and they are celebrating them as decent people because they have no alternative to survive. So we can make simple economic decisions and solve the problem and make our country a decent place for everybody to live. But nobody wants to make that economic decision, that simple economic decision. You just criticize and criticize and criticize. And that's the reason why people like us who understand the radical approaches, who understand the way, to compel a government to act, we are trying our possible best to go to the legislature. Because if I'm in the legislature by now, even if the protein don't bring my communication on the table, but now maybe we have more than 20 communication on the table calling for Joe to resign or calling on the legislature to impeach Joe.
So you're saying if you ever made your way to the Senate, we'll be having another Delon or you can call
no, you're going to have more than that. You're going to have more than a Delon. You're going to have more than a Yaka Koruba. You're going to have more than that. I can guarantee you, you're going to have more than that.
All right, but folks, we've come to the wire of this interview, and I know time is of the essence, and I know for sure, Mr. Gonkwe, if you're listening, your video is off. We will have to bring you back on the show as well. Are you still there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, your video is oh, there you go. Yes, we will have to bring you back to discuss national issues of concern. Now, my last question to you. If you are certificated and you are given the go-ahead by the NEC, come 2023, will you put up a candidate or are you going to just support another political party?
Like I told you, we are in arrangement, so we're going to support an opposition presidential candidate. We will only focus on the economic freedom fighter. Will focus on the senatorial elections as well as the representative elections. But the presidential candidate, of course, we are going to support the presidential candidate.
Good. What is your final word? I know I have so many questions, but time, and I know you have another. You have another program right after this. What is your final word to the Liberian people tonight? What do you want?
Well, I just want to say
from you.
I just want to say to Liberians, let disregard this selfishness of believing that it is our time, our brothers and sisters are in government, so therefore we have to support the government. It's been selfish. Anyone who thinks this way being selfish. Let's forget about this and support a reputable opposition candidate that can win the elections and get George Weah out of power. George Weah is a bigger threat, to the country's survival. So we need to get George Weah out of power. That's my final word to the Liberian people. So young people who are out there that say to you, the economic freedom fighter is the home of all radical forces. Come and join the institution that built a radical political institution that can govern the country in the future and that can make the country a nation that can be compared to none in the region. Thank you.
How do anybody who wants to join the movement, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, yeah, my official page was hacked, so I just opened a new one. So anybody who wants to join the institution can just go on my Facebook page. You send me the message, then I will direct you, or you can go and check on our page, the Economic Freedom Fighter of Liberia, and then like the page, to follow every event, that we are doing. We have a chat room that those who agree to join the institution will put them in the chat room. So I'm saying, if you want to join, once you come in my inbox, I will direct you to the chat room.
Awesome. So folks, there you have it on the show today. I'm going to just close right here. Don't leave. I'm going to put you in the back so you and I can chit chat before I let you go, sir. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you today on the show with us. And we look forward to having you another time again.
I'm always available. I'm one Liberians who do not, look down on media institution. Part of the reason why a lot of the young journalists in Liberia, and all journalists in Liberia like me, because all of you are on the community radio. You call me, I'm available to talk to you, because we have to communicate through the media. Right. There are people that I need to talk to, that I cannot reach out to them. But the fact that I'm on your platform, whether it's 3-person viewing, it's 6-person viewing, it's 7-person viewing, I'm having conversation with them. They are understanding what we're talking about. So regardless of the size of the media institution, I'm always hoping to have dialogue on every platform.
Right. I like that mentality, because you never know who's going to come after this show to watch. This show. And people, it's not about numbers, it's who you reach and the target. That's it. So I like that concept. And we highly appreciate we'll arrange another time to have you. Folks, there you have it. Tomorrow we'll be having the Sunday show. Mr. Gonkwe has been with us, the CRC for the Economic Freedom Fighters of Liberia. And before we close the show today, let me close by telling you that tomorrow at 2 p.m. is the gospel show here. And right after that is another dialect show for another 1 hour. That will be 7 p.m. Liberian time. So we also have another dialect show that will be coming up, the my Bassa people, where we'll be able to reach you. Sometimes we'll be bringing people politicians who speak their own dialects on the show. So our people will be able to host them and talk to their own people directly. But until then, my name is Sam Gadu. My name is Sam Gadu, and this is how I want to leave you. As we had our political leader on the show, Freedom Song.
they were coming, they said they were liberators. But when they kill their crown, they change their mind. When they kill their crown, they change their mind. What kind of people they so?
They are freedom fighters.
What kind of people they so?
They are freedom fighters.
You freedom fighter, you raping our women.
They are freedom fighters.
Freedom fighter, you killing our children.
They are freedom fighters.
Freedom fighter, you destroying our country.
They are freedom fighters.
Ayo, 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 ayo. Ayo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, yo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, 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 ayo. Ayo, 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 ayo. Ayo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, yo, ayo, ayo. Ayo, 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 ayo. When they were coming, they said they were liberators. When they were coming, they said they were liberators. But when they kill their ground, they change their mind. When they kill their ground, they change their mind. What kind of people they so?
They are freedom fighters.